welcome to Grounds Patrol, a Newgrounds creators podcast. My name is Will Comer. I am your host. Sorry if my voice sounds a little hoarse today. I had to wake up early to record this because people are doing, I think, some kind of rubber ceiling, resealing maintenance outside of my apartment, and so everything, like a big flamethrower, is being fired right outside my window, basically all day. And so imagine a rubber fire smell, and just... So, that's what I'm dealing with. Before I die of rubber fumes over here, I want to tell you a couple people shouted out in regards to the last episode with the voice actress Amy Smith. David Piralokura said, "Nice episode. Voice acting is always interesting. I myself did some for a game I made, and hearing my own mouth noises is weird but fun at the same time." Well, first of all, trust me, when you start doing it more, it gets more weird and less fun. He says, "I would have loved to hear more of the financial part, as it would be nice to earn money doing something you love." We laughed about that afterwards because we were like, oh, no, we don't want to talk about the boring money stuff. So whenever we would talk about it, we would go, oh, no, okay, I'm sorry, we'll stop talking about money and we'll go on to fun things. But it turns out a lot of people are interested in talking about how to finance yourself as a creative, and that gives me a lot of hope. I actually like talking about that too. So maybe more of that in the future. Saturiax Kimelon says, "Always considered voice acting for funsies, but I have horrible word processing, so I can never get anything out in a fluid fashion. Much as Audacity can edit it out, but wouldn't that kind of kill the quality of the actor?" Now, Amy actually responded to that, saying, "Try the Casting Call Club and the Voice Acting Club. They're great training grounds for the aspiring voice actor, or even just for doing it as a cool hobby." Thank you, Amy, for saying that. And if you guys are interested in voice acting after listening to the last episode, or this episode, which is also with a voice actor, go to those things, Casting Call Club and the Voice Acting Club. You can find them online. So there's that. Oh, I see one more review, and it's from me. I say, thank you, Amy, for coming on the show. It was so much fun. I really love talking to her. We both kind of have the same energy, I think. So it was a lot of, oh, you do that? Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's just really good. And we bounced up each other really easy. I just wanted to shout out and say that was really fun. It was a fun episode. Didn't get quite as many listens as like the madness stuff, but I'm here for more than that. I'm here just to talk to people that excite me artistically. You know what I mean? So that happened this time too. Segment into this episode with Joshua Tomar, aka TomaMoto. So back in the day of Newgrounds, TomaMoto was the voice actor. If you were there around that time, you remember him because he was in everything and did everything and voiced everything. You knew his voice very well. And nowadays, while he's not really on Newgrounds as much anymore, he has taken those skills he learned here and gone on to, well, be a professional voice actor in anime and video games, including League of Legends, co-founding animation group Studio Yada, and being a regular on the Let's Play group OneyPlays, which is super funny. He does a lot of stuff. This is a guy that I would say is just easy to be inspired by for basically any art form, because he does all of it. I got to talk to him a little bit late at night. We were both a little tired. It got quiet in the beginning and then revved its way up. So if you hear in the beginning of this interview, we're kind of talking like this, I'll promise you it picks up. And it's fun. Have I mentioned it's fun? I think I have. Enjoy. So I was trying to figure out how to introduce you. What do you think people know you for most? I mean, you do a lot of things now.
I honestly don't know. Maybe I should take some stock in that. Like I figured like for the longest time it was just I was very involved in Newgrounds. Like I was in I don't know how many dozens of videos, if not like I don't know, and games and whatever, all sorts of stuff on there. And then I started doing like video games. I did Skullgirls, I think, was my first like big like game thing when I was announcing for that, and then like League of Legends came after that, and just some cool big properties. And then I don't know, I've just been doing miscellaneous anime and stuff like that. And now OneyPlays is definitely a big part of it too.
Yeah. Is OneyPlays something you do as part of your creative jobs, or is that a fun thing? Like, do you just go there to hang out and you get put on air and stuff?
For me personally, like, you know, we work on it in a professional capacity, but yeah, as far as like my at least my attitude when we're recording is like we're just hanging out, we're having fun, and we're talking.
Yeah.
Like I try not to put a lot of like pressure on myself to perform or anything like that.
You can tell immediately when somebody starts to try to be on during those things. I can tell that too. When somebody goes, "Hi, I'm here," and we're doing a thing, even if you're just like sitting with your friend playing a game, but you're trying to be a influencer or
Yeah, no, I tried doing like I don't think I ever published anything, but I tried doing like streams and let's plays and stuff like way early on when it was becoming a thing, and realized very quickly I'm like, I can't do this solo. When I'm playing a game, I just kind of want to focus on the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, me doing it by myself definitely was never gonna work.
What'd you find hard about it? Like the idea of because I tried that for 2 seconds too, like making art on camera to no one. It's like you have to talk to yourself and natter to yourself along. It sounds like you're a crazy person.
Yeah, I mean, at least for me, that's exactly how I felt. Like I think one of the first ones I tried doing is like when it was just called Hitman, the one that came before the one that just came out, Hitman 2.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, I'm excited. I like these games. I'm going to play this, and I'm going to record myself playing. It's going to be cool. And then it's like the first like 10 minutes go by, and I'm just trying to figure out the game, and like I'm making a comment every like 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, there's no way this is going to be interesting to watch or listen to.
And the comments are all, huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Exactly. So I was just like, no, this is not me.
It's the most, I don't know how people can do it. It feels like if your neighbor walked by, they would call the police.
Yeah. For me, it's just boring. That's how I would put it. Like I was getting bored thinking about people trying to watch me do this thing. And I'm like, it's just not my thing.
For me, it was I turned the stream on for all 0 people when I was trying to make like a simple game in Game Maker and do it on air. I was trying to make it simple enough that I could do it pretty quickly and just be able to talk about it. But even like making a ship move, I was still seeing code and trying to go like, okay, I have to do math, but I have to entertain people. And I can't do math while I'm entertaining people.
I mean, I think, the big take home is like I do have a lot of respect for the people who can pull it off, especially solo. Like I have a lot of fun doing like OneyPlays, but I am very much like it's usually me and 2 really funny guys, and I'm playing more or less the straight man, just kind of doing my thing, and I'm just trying to have fun playing a video game and then just talking a conversation. But at no point do I feel like pressured to like turn on the funny, not because I'm suited to be a straight man. I don't see myself as like a comedian per se. I love doing like comic performances and stuff from a script that either I've written or someone else has written. But when it comes to like straight up improv or anything like that, well, improv's fun, but like just
improv's fun when you're with fun people and doing it for fun.
Exactly. Even that, I need to work off someone. I'm not like a pool of creativity is really what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. You said it's kind of a professional capacity. I'm always curious about this. When you guys and the funny guys are in the room, are you guys like, okay, so we need to have 2 episodes today and 2 episodes tomorrow, so we should go ahead and record 4 today, and let's make sure that we say this and don't say this. Very professional, and you press play, and you're like, fucking cocks.
I mean, it's definitely not that thought out. It's more just like, all right, let's just try and get a few hours in, and we'll talk sometimes beforehand what games we want to play, and that's about the extent of the planning. That it's just, we pick something to play, we sit down on it. If we're feeling it, we keep going. If we're not, it turns into like a one-off, or it just gets scrapped, and we go on and do something else. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty much just like what are you feeling, more than like this needs to happen like this, and
right.
We have this is the plan for the day. Yeah, no, I don't think any of us have that in us to be that disciplined.
No, I wouldn't think so. And it seems like if you try to do it more professional like that, you're gonna squash the just fun, casual nature of it or something. I guess I'm making up in my head what it's like because I'm wishing I was there.
But yeah, by professional, I really just mean in the sense that it's like we're making money off this, so people are getting paid. That's about the extent to which I'd say it's professional. Right,
sure. So before this, I remember you being like the voice actor on Newgrounds for a while. I mean, back in the day, it seemed like you were the guy. It was everybody had you in their project. You were reaching out. You seemed like the kind of cool combination of very like sought after and professional level, but also you could do things with smaller projects to sort of help with the community which I have a feeling is kind of why you're here tonight too.
I love Newgrounds, and it is like when I got into Newgrounds, it was about 2006, and like most people I know got into Newgrounds when they were like, maybe middle school, high school, like they're teenagers.
Yeah.
In 2006, I was already 20 years old. So I was like halfway through like getting a college degree, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And I had been doing voice acting to some extent as like a hobby, but it was in 2006 that I discovered, hey, there's all these animators here, and a lot of them like either like have no access to voice actors, or some of them are specifically like actively casting for voice actors. And the first thing I ever did was it was an anti-clock day, which was an event that Lewis put together.
Very good.
Lewis Castanon, if I need to like qualify who Lewis is.
Right, of course. Yeah, not the other Lewis.
But he did like this. It was like anti-clock. I had no idea what the clock crew was, and I was already involved in like a clock crew hate kind of event.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it was all in good fun. But yeah, I did a thing for a guy who I'm still friends with. His screen name's Impending Riot, and he just did this cute little thing. It's called like How to Create a Clock Crew Animation, and it was just this really tongue-in-cheek like bastard thing. And it was just me kind of narrating it, and he put that cartoon out like maybe 3-4 days later, so I got to see my voice like animated over for the first time, and that blew my mind. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. I want to do more of this, and so I kept like auditioning for similar stuff, and then as I kept going, I started like trying to improve my recording setup. And then when I felt satisfied with how my voice sounded in recording, which I'd like to emphasize, it's like a big breakthrough once you start like hearing your own voice and not hating,
cringing. Oh God, yes.
But at some point that happened. Yeah. At some point that happened, and then I actually started like I created my own demo reel. Which I've like barely updated since 2007. Mm-hmm. I still have that same demo reel. That's another issue, but
it's like having a headshot that's 20 years old. It's like
I started once I had that demo reel, I felt like invincible, and I started like I was watching cartoons all the time on Newgrounds, and like I've always loved animation, and I'd find like my favorite animators, and I'd try to hit them up and be like, hey, if you ever need voices, here's a demo reel. See, I can do all the stuff. And like a lot of them actually responded, and like that's how I met Swain, and that's how I met a bunch of people. And then through meeting them, I wind up going to like the Pico Day stuff, like Newgrounds meetups, and I met way more people at those, and then collaborated with a lot of people I met at those things.
But you were at the one last time, right? I think I saw your picture there.
Yeah, the last like Pico Day event that Ivan organized. Yeah, that was I if I ever get invited, like I'm gonna go. Like I don't think I've missed one in quite a while.
When you go to that kind of thing, is it people you're seeing that you are currently doing things with, or does it feel a bit more like a reunion where it's like, oh yeah, hey, remember that?
I mean, I'd say it feels like a reunion, but like with a lot of these guys, like even if I haven't seen them in like 2 or 3 years, I feel like I can just pick up like we were just hanging out the day before. Like I really like that. I do consider like Newgrounds to be sort of like a second family, and I am always trying to like meet new people, like especially these guys who got into it like sort of after my let's just call it my heyday or whatever, like when I was super active versus like now when I have a job and I'm doing a billion other things. But
yeah,
it's always nice meeting like new people who are just like into Newgrounds. It seems like most of those people I just get along with because just the fact that they're involved with that, and they like animating and they want to do amateur stuff. I don't know, that's always jive with me. Like same with like indie game devs, and
you have to be a certain kind of personality to get onto Newgrounds and be or not be successful, but thrive there. You have to be creative and a little scrappy and have kind of a weird sense of humor at the same time, right?
Yeah, I've always liked the kind of rough around the edges nature of like the people that last on Newgrounds. Like they're good kind of people. They're not people I'm like afraid of, like that I feel like I have to walk on eggshells around, like I'm gonna offend them with like a crude joke or something like that.
Yeah, that's good. And now you haven't. I think I saw that you were SAG eligible. You have an agent for voice acting. How does that work? Do you get your gigs and the anime things through the agent, or do you self-book?
Most of the anime stuff, it's been through a studio called Bang Zoom, which I've just kind of, I lucked out. I had a friend who brought me in for like a Walla session, which is, you know, when you go and you do like the background voices for stuff. Like in this case, it was literally like it was called The Return of Princess Pearl. It was like a Chinese kind of like action soap opera. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like one of these Chinese period shows where it's just a lot of martial arts and a lot of people doing like wire work and jumping around and like, you know, doing triple backflips and cool stuff like that. And I was just like a bunch of random villains like getting beaten up for the most part. And I had like I had the opportunity to do a couple like little speaking lines of just like one-off characters, and I guess something about those tiny little one-off lines like caught the attention of the lady directing, and she asked me if I wanted to like do a general audition, and then I did that, and they added me to their roster, and I've been kind of doing things here and there for them, and that's how I got into League of Legends and a bunch of other stuff.
Nice.
Was through that studio.
Before we keep going, you brought up Walla, and the sound geek in me is coming out. That is one of the weirdest, funniest, like back things of sound that nobody realizes.
I've done like one other like loop group thing. It was for I don't know if you've heard of the Asylum, I want to say they're called. They do like horror movies.
Okay.
And I was in a loop group thing for a movie called Flight 666, which I think it's like a Netflix or one of those streaming services, but it's just like a really corny horror movie about like, you know, the flight from hell, like it just really just cornball like B movie stuff.
Corntastic.
It's really fun. Yeah, we were just doing a lot of just making up. That's a lot of improv, it turns out. You just sort of speak topically with like someone next to you. Like you just pick random partners and move around and just create these fake little conversations to help fill out the background noise.
Walla and Loop Group are both, if you wouldn't mind, like, for the kids out there who are wondering what is one of the weirdest common voice acting gigs you can get. So Walla, tell me if I'm saying this right, but it's when basically you are recording the background chatter, and you have to speak like subtly enough that they can't hear any specific thing you're saying. That's called Walla because you're literally almost going Walla 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 Walla.
I think that's right. I never studied up on it, but I do think I've always assumed that's why it was called Walla. And yeah, basically it's that. It's like, oh yeah, I think that's and you know, you're just having these fake, like you're usually saying real words in my experience, but yeah, the way you're mixed in, it's gonna all pretty much blend into the background anyway. It's just to give the illusion that there's just some real like room ambience in a crowded place, or you know, in the case of that like Return of Princess Pearl, it's like a lot of when you've got just big groups of guys just in like these big melee battles going yeah.
But you can't say any actual line large enough that they can hear you, because that means you have a line in the thing and then you have to be credited as an actor.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, if that's the case, then what I just described was technically, but that wasn't there's little like exceptions to that. But in the union world, I think that would be true. If you were an extra and you had a speaking line, you'd probably be entitled to all sorts of extra stuff. So they would definitely avoid letting you speak on camera.
Yeah. This is my sound design degree in college coming out, and I get to be a geek about it. And then Loop Group, help paint the picture for me here. There's a microphone in the studio, and you and like maybe 7 other people are standing in a circle, right? And you walk in a circle, like, and as you pass the microphone, you kind of speak a sentence. So it's like you're coming in.
I mean, that might make sense for a particular type of scene. Like in this case, we were all just passengers on an airplane.
Okay.
So, I mean, what you're describing where it's just kind of people, it was more like a semicircle in this case of, probably like 7, 8 people. And they have maybe 3 or 4 microphones shared between us, arranged in that semicircle. And we would regularly be switching places just to like change it up. And so they could like, I guess like they could overlap things if they needed to. It's nothing like super exciting. It's fun to do, but yeah, it's work. And I know I'm not involved like in like a long running loop group. I know a lot of people, like it's like you get in a loop group like a big established one, and then you just like that's a job for life. Like you'll do that like every other day or every week, or you guys meet and they're doing this movie or that movie, and you're just regularly doing it. It's just a nice, especially for people that are like full-time voice actors, which I am not. It's just a nice paycheck. I would say like regular income.
That actually does sound fun, though. I might have to ask you for a rec on that later on. I remember in college we did a loop group just to test it out, just like a mock one, and we would all be walking by the microphone and saying things like, "Yeah, so my balls are starting to itch lately. I don't know what's going on."
No, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I couldn't even give a rec because it's like so many of the opportunities I've had, I really do owe to like friends I've made over the years who like even that initial introduction into Bang Zoom. I don't want to drop names just because it's tacky, but it's like, yeah, I do have a lot of friends to thank for that. And because I'm not a full-time guy, because I don't really have a lot of the time to go pounding the pavement and doing the stuff that like my very dedicated actor brethren are doing, that's why I don't work as much. But I'm honestly very happy with the current situation. Like I love the idea of being a full-time voice actor, and at the same time, I really also like being a systems engineer. I really like working on Yada. I like doing OneyPlays, and I like doing all these little things. And I know that a guy like me on a not regular income would get so stressed out so easily. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to have the engineering job. I genuinely am.
Well, I would say that if anything, you're a creative spirit, and having just one job like that is going to restrict you, and having all those different things that you can play around in, all those little fields you can play around in, helps give you a little bit of a creative inspiration. I think that's...
I appreciate you putting it that way, as a creative spirit. I legitimately, I've been diagnosed since I was a kid with ADD, and I think for me, it's just like, I do need to be constantly like changing it up, or I will just get bored and unhappy. So having a lot of things to swap between, even if it's like I spend, 8 hours of my day doing engineering work, and then I come home and I do some auditions, and then, over the weekend, maybe I work on like a little side project, I need a life that's like that, where things are always kind of changing it up every once in a while.
Yeah. As far as I have found, nothing is creative and like, nothing is fun enough that you can do it forever, only that, and you're not going to get a little stale with it.
I mean, I guess it all depends on who you are, but for me personally, yeah, I agree with you.
I feel like that's kind of what Newgrounds is to me. Honestly, it's it's a website where you can, for example, do audio, animations, games, and everything else at the same time. If you get bored with one medium, you, at the same account on that website, can go release something else. That's really fun to me.
Yeah, that would have been lame if it was like a thing where it's like, do you want to create an artist account or a viewer account or a music producer account? And it's like you'd be somehow like locked into one thing. Obviously, there's no good reason to do that, but I do feel like I've seen sites that do try to do that. Like, I can't think of it. I don't think it's common anymore. I want to say like MySpace used to do that, where it's like, are you just a user or are you like a musician? Like something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always thought it was, or even like, I feel like old, like something that came before Twitch, like one of those like sort of live streaming services that didn't quite pan out as well. It was like you had to sign up as like a viewer or a content creator, and it's like, well,
you have to make a new account.
Yeah, and each one had to have its own account. Like you couldn't comment with like a creator account, and you couldn't put anything out with a user account. And I always thought it's like the whole point of these things is like they're communities, and you get involved, and even if you didn't plan on creating something, you eventually just feel the urge to do it just from watching other people do it.
Exactly. It leaves you room to go from being a viewer to being a content creator because you're so into it. You're like, oh, I want to do that. Oh, wait, I can. I have the opportunity right here. The upload button is right there.
For sure. Yeah.
So you were talking about Bang Zoom, which is that a anime specific studio or kind of
they do all sorts of stuff. Definitely a lot of anime. I would, without like, I've never looked at their books, but it seems like anime and like Japanese games, like localizing Japanese games are their like bread and butter.
So you've done some gigs now where you have listened to the Japanese voice, and then is it like you hear in the stories where you have to like watch the way their mouths move, the animation, and say the English according to how the lips move?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, there's some flexibility with that, and the editors tend to be really, really good, like on the fly, at like adjusting little things, so you don't have to get it like perfect. As long as you get the gist of it, they can cut things up here and there and move them around. But yeah, essentially the common like the loop is they'll usually like play a scene, or at least like a good clip of the scene you're about to do, so you just have some idea of context of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then they just start like hitting, all right, we're going to do loop, 192. And then they'll play the Japanese, and then they'll beep you in. It's like a beep, beep, beep. And then like on what would be the fourth beep is when you're supposed to start talking. So that sort of just cues you but yeah, essentially you watch it in Japanese, and then they play back the exact same scene right after that with the beeps, and then you record the English. And often it'll be on the English track, so if they've recorded any of the other actors already, you'll be able to play off that. Although that's entirely based on scheduling, whether or not there's actually any other voices in the scene at all yet.
Right, of course. Just like with, normal animation voice acting, you only get to talk with other people if A, they've already recorded, or if they're in the room with you, which isn't common if I'm understanding right. You usually record one-on-one. It's not like Family Guy you see behind the scenes. They'll sit in the room with 4 microphones and banter. Not common.
Yeah, a lot of TV stuff. I mean, I guess that stuff's more common with like prelay, like American stuff. I haven't done a lot of that, but on some of the stuff I have done, it has been like an ensemble recording, as they call it, like where you are in the same room as the people you're talking with. I've gotten to record that way, maybe on 2 or 3 different things I've done, because they were prelay and they weren't, dubs.
What does prelay mean? I haven't heard that one.
Prelay literally just meaning like they record the audio tracks before they animate lip flaps. So like they can lay. This is me. Like, I'm not like an industry expert, but prelay I think literally just means like they lay the audio track down before animating. So you're free to sort of record in the wild versus like you having to match your lips up to something that's already been done, which obviously is always the case with dubs.
Right. If I'm right, a lot of animation works prelay style. They will do the blocking, right? I mean, you know more than this. You do stuff with Yada, but you do the storyboards, so you see where they're moving to. And then you start to animate, but the mouths aren't moving until you do the voice, and then based on what the voice is saying, that they do the lips after that.
I mean, I'd say there's 2 ways of doing that. For the more board-driven shows, yes, that's true. But there's some shows that are more script-driven. For those, it's not uncommon for the whole episode practically to be like laid out as a radio play before it even gets to board. It can go both ways. The cool thing about the radio play one is that you literally have nothing you have to match, and people can just play off you. But I'm a big fan of board-driven animation. So, yeah. I mean, I've never had the opportunity to just go into a studio and just play off the boards. That'd be really cool to do someday. But yeah, I've usually done either where it's just script-driven and it's either me alone in a room or me with a few other people in front of a microphone just reading, like doing like a table read, essentially, but with live mics.
That sounds really fun, actually. And then they basically will animate exactly the scene that you just performed.
Yeah.
Fun. I guess I could see it working both ways. You might have a show where certain scenes are board-driven, so that they're more like visually centered, and then certain scenes where you're talking and it's more of an emotional conversation or done the way you're describing, where you will do it first and then they'll animate to it later. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. That's about right. But yeah, it all depends on the specific show, whether it's script-driven or board-driven. It seems like a lot of the like the newer like Cartoon Network and like Nickelodeon kind of shows, there's been a lot of effort to push more towards board-driven stuff, and that's why these shows are very like visually impactful versus like I think a lot of like comedies like Family Guy probably are like script-driven, where they just record everybody before the boards have even been done, and then those guys are boarding to like basically a radio play.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking this as an expert at all. I'm just that's what I'm assuming happens.
We're figuring this all out together. We're doing this all together. None of us are any experts here. We've just been on one side of the microphone at one point. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Voice acting goes into animation, and I would imagine that's sort of how you got into working on things like Yada. What is your role with Yada technically called? Are you the co-owner?
That's what I go by. I don't have like a specific job function. I'm like at some point I was calling myself like, like a director of operations, but that's not a good description of what I do. I help make a lot of management calls, and I give a lot of advice to like Jake and Brandon, and I also happen to take care of a lot of financial stuff like paying contractors and all that. We all just kind of like split the roles of running the company at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But Jake does a lion's share of the management. It's his full-time job doing Yada. So we support him, and he does the big boy calls.
This is going to be a very interviewy question, but how did this all get started? How did you all link up and make this thing?
So like I've known Jake's been an active Newgrounder since I think he was like 13 or 14 when we met, and I'm like 8 years older than him. Mm-hmm. But he was always really talkative, and he was getting involved in all these different groups, and he was always like a pleasure to talk to. Like he was kind of I'll call him mature for his age at the time. Like most 14-year-olds, because I have a little brother who's the exact same age, we didn't have much in common, and yet there's this my brother and I, we get along pretty well now, but when I was that age, we were usually at odds and did not get along at all. But yeah, Jake just like was really into animation, and he always just wanted to talk about that stuff, and that was kind of all I ever wanted to talk about too at the time. And he got along with a lot of Newgrounders really well, and then time goes on, and he's talking about this idea about starting up a studio, which I feel like I've heard a million times before from a lot of people. Everyone has that sort of aspiration, but he seemed like really dead set on actually doing it. And then Yada started out as basically just like Jake doing animation assistance for like other Newgrounders and like YouTube people, just kind of like doing in-betweens for people and helping them clean stuff up and being a helper, more or less. And then that sort of turned into like us starting to reach out to bigger clients and be like, hey, you want us to like animate all this stuff for you? And I know we were doing some stuff like Harry helped us get a job with what he was working on. It was like Bear Shark or something like that for I forget who the publisher was, but I remember it was this whole thing because it was it was done in 3D because it was like meant to be played on like the 3DS in the early 3DS days.
Oh, fun.
And then we did like that pilot called Obituary for Michael Barrity, who is like a Smosh guy, and that was our first attempt at doing anything nearly that size, and it was a lot, and we probably didn't charge enough for it, but we got it done and we pulled it together. Then at some point we started like doing like music videos and shorter stuff and like cutscenes for things, and that seemed to really resonate with what we were doing, this sort of like shorter form stuff that was like really high quality. And it just kept going, and like each job would like bring like several people going like, oh hey, you want to do our thing? And it's entirely been like a word of mouth kind of business of just like people approaching us and being like, hey, you want to work on a thing?
Nice. Now, if I'm right, Yada does a lot of title sequence work, and it does a lot of like shorter, like you said, shorter form animation in previews and commercials and stuff like that, right?
Definitely. I mean, I'm trying to think if we've done any commercials, but yeah, definitely like music videos and intro sequences are a big part of what we do, and like game cutscenes.
Yeah. Is that an intentional part of the business, or would you be eventually doing like series and stuff like that?
I mean, there's a lot we've talked about as far as like self-financing a series. That would just take a lot of money. Developing our own original like stuff is definitely a direction that we want to go with Yada. And I don't want to give away too much here, but like it's something that we've been doing on the back burner, and we'll hopefully see some cool stuff in the coming years.
Well, that's a tease.
I mean, it's meant to be very vague because...
Yeah.
But yeah, Yada, we definitely want Yada to keep growing into something bigger.
Mm-hmm. I'm watching eagle-eyed now. I want to find out.
Cool.
Back to actually the previous episode before you, on Grounds Patrol, I was talking to an Australian voice actress named Amy Smith. Did you ever meet her through Newgrounds or anything?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. But we got to talking a lot about, she'll do a lot of remote voice acting. She'll do it from, like, her setup at home. Do you do a lot of remote stuff, or is it mostly in studios with you?
Definitely a good bit of each. I probably do, these days, I think I do more work in studios than out of the house, but I definitely still, I have clients that I've been working with for, like, the better part of the last decade that, I still will record stuff from home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a combination, and I love having my home studio, and it's important for auditions. Still, most of the auditions I submit, whether it's for a studio I'm affiliated with or for my agent, everything I record in this very room where I'm now talking to you. This is my nice, like, dead. It's basically it's a narrow walk-in closet. It's long though. It's narrow, but it's long, so it doesn't feel too tiny and packed.
Is this a closet? Because we're in California, I have to ask. Is because real estate's hard? Is this a closet that your clothes would be in, but you have to put them somewhere else?
No, I'm lucky enough to have an extra bedroom that we use as an office, and this office just happens to have a big closet. Like, there's a bunch of other crap in here. It's not like it's just my studio, but for the most part, the main reason anyone comes in here is me coming in here to record.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I've deadened the walls, and I'm very happy with how it sounds in here, and I got a microphone that is conducive to record. Like, I really like using a shotgun mic, which I never would have thought initially would be, like, practical for studio work. But
that's really interesting. I would not have thought to use that. For anybody out there, a shotgun is like a long, skinny microphone that you see people record movies with. They'll host it up and be a boom pole.
Exactly. So the big benefits of a shotgun mic are that it's directional, meaning that it's designed to reject sounds that come from anywhere other than directly, in the direction at the tip of the microphone. And I have a neighbor who she's a singing teacher. So, like, at any given time, there could be all sorts of noise coming from just beyond the wall. A lot of rookie singers.
Oh, no.
In the higher register, it gets dicey because that even my microphone sometimes picks up.
Oh, yeah, that shakes the walls. So you can't do anything about that.
But for the most part, like, even when I'm hearing sound and, like, music lessons going on next door, when I play back my recordings, I don't hear them at all because the shotgun mic has saved my life. So I personally use it's kind of a pricey mic, but it's an MKH 416. I kind of worked my way up to it from other microphones, but I think this is my favorite one.
It's a Sennheiser, right?
It is a Sennheiser. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I should have said the maker.
It's fine.
But yeah,
that's
it's
a good
Sennheiser
microphone. That's like a film standard microphone. People will rent that to shoot movies with.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fantastic mic, and I don't regret at all investing in it. I've definitely made back the investment many times over.
Mm-hmm. Man, I love talking to people that have better mic setups than I do, and I'm the one that introduces the show, but everybody has a much better setup than I do.
I mean, that's going to happen, I guess, when you go after voice actors.
Yeah, I guess so. And content creators. Do you like that term, content creator? I always feel like that might be really narcissistic to say, or maybe it's what we're all called nowadays.
I totally get what you mean. I don't have a personal, I don't have a problem with it. I feel like it's used a lot as, like, it's lost any, like, when people try to use it as, like, a status symbol, it makes me cringe a little bit. It's like, I'm a content creator. It's like anybody with a pulse is a content creator now.
Yeah.
It's welcome to 2019.
It's like being a podcaster.
Yeah, not to degrade it, but it's like content creator is a very, like, broad thing. It's literally someone who creates content. So,
yeah,
if that's your whole, like, if that's what you're going to say to impress somebody, like, think again. No,
it's better than, it's like multimedia artist. I don't know. It's just people.
I'd say the same about voice actor. There's quite a few people voice acting these days. If you're just like, don't worry, I'm cool, I'm a voice actor. It's like, all right.
Or let's expand it. The term actor. A lot of people are actors, and then a lot of people will say that, oh, don't worry, I'm an actor.
But yeah, it's like and I'm not like I'm not trying to, like, grade people or rank them here. It's just like, it's it's just another label at the end of the day. You could be a really shitty actor, you could be a really good actor. You telling me I'm a voice actor, we should be friends is like, that puts me off guard. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, a lot of people are voice actors that I'm not friends with.
Exactly. We're not the only two voice actors in this zip code, dude.
But yeah.
Well, this is a Newgrounds podcast. Do you have any use for that Newgrounds page, or is it kind of going the way of a lot of people's pages where the last thing is from 2009 and stuff?
My personal Newgrounds page, like, I have not updated it in some time.
Yeah.
But maybe I should. I feel guilty whenever I think about it, so I'm obviously doing something wrong.
No, but a lot of people are like that. I've noticed that a lot of people who you would consider to be in the class of, like, big in the heyday of Newgrounds, you know what I mean? Back in the prime of Newgrounds, back in the mid-2000s, helped make it what it was. A lot of those people now have those kind of graveyard pages, and I think a lot of people feel bad about it. So maybe if a lot of people feel bad, they shouldn't feel bad.
I mean, for me, it's like I don't update much. I have, like, the main social media thing I use is Twitter, and even as far as Twitter goes, I post pretty irregularly. Social media is not something that, like, brings me a ton of pleasure. Like, I do it because partially it's just a career thing and just to sort of keep up with what my friends are up to and, like, see cool art.
Yeah.
And you know, be aware of, like, when cool animations and other, like, stuff like that comes out. Like, it's sort of become, like, more of, like, a news source on what my friends are up to and then what's sort of going on in general.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't use Instagram. I don't think I've logged into Facebook in, like, months. And even if I logged in months ago, then there was probably months before that. Something about social media is just exhausting to me.
I know, me too. And it's hard that it seems like it becomes more mandatory nowadays when you're a content creator. You also have to be a content marketer all the time too, which becomes a second job.
Apparently that's, like, becoming a big thing even in, like, the voice acting world, like, and the acting world at large, where it's like people get hired based on, like, you know, it's like if you don't have at least this many followers on Instagram or Twitter, they don't even want to, like, they don't really care about your audition. Like, they want people who they can, like, pitch it like an investor and be like, this guy has, you know, 500,000 followers, so we can bet on at least, like, 10% of those guys buying this thing.
That's everything now. That's every industry. Acting, voice acting.
It's not necessarily a wrong way of thinking in that, like, maybe they've got something there as far as, like, reducing risk as business people. Like, that's just how business people have to think.
Yeah,
but
you can't blame the idea of business. I know,
but it does bum me out, all the people that probably miss opportunities because of that, as just, like, a basic gatekeeping technique where it's like, you only have, like, 5,000 followers, so I don't really want to hear your audition. I don't care if you're perfect for the role because I that's just too risky for me.
So one of my first acting jobs ever was, well, like, first SAG eligible ones or whatever, was like frat bro number 13 or something in Medea Halloween, which is a Tyler Perry thing in Atlanta. I am from Atlanta, so it was in the backyard. But when I auditioned for one of the main characters. And then I get there as frat boy number 13, and everybody, I mean, all of the principal roles were influencers. Like, people who had YouTube accounts and, like, did makeup tutorials, and all the guys had, like, workout videos, and people were models. They were playing all the parts. And I swear to God, the guy I auditioned for was me, but the version of me with 500,000 followers. It was so blatant. It was like, oh, okay, I see. You're not hiding it at this point.
I mean, it is what it is. It's one of those things I'd love to complain about.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to, like, completely go outside my comfort zone and do, like, awkward, weird stuff to bolster my social media account. But I'm also not going to totally give up on that stuff either. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And that's my thing. I'm just going to do things my way. My recipe is not one that anyone should necessarily follow if they're looking for super success, but I'm happy doing it in my own slow-paced way.
Yeah. Talking to Amy last episode, she was saying that a lot of the reason she'll price herself a certain way nowadays is because she knows that she's putting in more hours than just recording the voice for people. The idea is that you're recording and then you're marketing, and then you're doing social media, and then you're doing cold emails. You're sending emails to people, and you're networking, and you're emailing. So it's like, when you get paid a certain amount for a job, it's because you're accounting for all of the hours that you put in for free. It evens out or something, I guess.
I'd say that that's been true of all actors for like forever.
Yeah.
Like the reason why, and I think that people do have trouble getting their head around like the kind of hourly rates that actors get. You know, it's like doing anime. The average rate right now in LA is $75 an hour. When people hear $75 an hour, they're like, "Whoa!" And it's like
that's like this amount per year.
For voice acting, that is like nearly bottom of the barrel as far as rates go, though. Like when I do non-union games, it's usually between like $200 and $300 an hour, and that's non-union games. For a union game, you're usually making like $1,000 just for like stepping in the booth. You got to consider just how much spec work you are doing as an actor. Every time you audition, you're taking time out of your day to do a bunch of free work that will probably never pay you anything. Yeah. And that's just an accepted part of the industry, so everybody does it. Because after all, like, who is going to... If we didn't have the audition system, things would be even worse for the little guy, because then the only people getting roles would be people that casting directors already knew.
Right, of course.
And then there'd be even less people able to like move up the ladder there. So auditions are just part of the whole process. Mm-hmm. And and then like you're saying, like marketing and all the social media crap and just all the time people spend just getting to the point where they think people will notice them and they can get the opportunities they're looking for. So yeah, I mean, if you find out a voice actor made like $500 for something that took them like 5 minutes in the booth, they're definitely not being overpaid. They earned it. Like, of course, yeah. You know, even if they're making $5,000 for that same exact thing, it's like they're probably doing something that's a big deal, and it's not hard to book, you know, some like Super Bowl commercial or something. Like that is something you work up to and you're putting a ton of effort into, and there's a lot of big empty gaps of not getting paid anything along the way. So I've never felt like any of my fellow actors were overpaid. Yeah, me neither. Well, I want you to know I really appreciate you doing this with me. I know you don't know me and you don't know what this is, and the idea that you can come sit down and just let me just pick the crap out of your brain. I know I'm a brain picker, so I appreciate you rolling with it. I'm nervous, and I don't know if I said anything really stupid today, and I hope I can trust your editing. Well, if you said anything really stupid, I'm going to leave it in. Oh, great. No, I feel like I keep a beginner's mindset, and it's not just to give the appearance of humility. It is just genuine humility that comes from, you know, I'm a guy who does a lot of things. I'm a jack of all trades. I don't think I'm a master of any of them, and I'm just trying to figure stuff out as I go like anyone else. Like, I do think I've figured a lot of stuff out as far as just being happy and having a cool life, but like that's about the only thing that I'm willing to claim. Like voice acting, I'm very much like even though I've been doing it for now, like, well, if we start off with my Newgrounds career, that's like 13 years. I feel like there's people who've been doing it for way shorter than me who are way bigger like experts at voiceover than I am right now. Like it's all about what you put in and acknowledging what you put in and what other people put in, and just accepting that the output's going to be different. Yeah. Well, you've been amazing. I want to try to end on an OneyPlays reference, and I'm going to make a lot of people really happy. Okay, here we go. You ready? You're going to find those Tomar crystals. Tomar emeralds? Tomar emeralds. I did it. you said Tomar emeralds. That's I'm famous now. That's a thing that we said. That's a thing that you say, and now I said it, and now I'm one of you guys. Okay. A big thank you to Tomar for joining me, and thank you guys for listening. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share about this episode? Leave a review on Newgrounds, and I might read some of it at the top of the next show.
Join our Discord at bit.ly/Grounds Patrol. You can follow us on Twitter at Grounds Patrol. You can follow me on Newgrounds on Twitter at WillKMR. Finally, thank you to Waterflame for the use of his song Below. Next episode is on August 7th, so look for it there. Hopefully I will not die by rubber fume inhalation by then. Until next time, stay creative.